I'm very, very pleased to meet Mbele, and her full name Buyisile, but she's going to explain that to us in a second. And then we will talk to Boyi a little bit about, if I may call her that. They will call.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and please call me Ian as well. And then
Okay.
we'll talk a little bit about you and your professional background and various other aspects, and get to know you a bit professionally, and find out a little bit about your experience of the course. Okay, but welcome, and I'm really looking forward to this time with you and to get to know you better from a professional perspective. So, just please introduce yourself to us, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Ian. I'm Boyi, as I've just said in full, it's Buyisile. And obviously, we have two names. The other one is Priscilla Buyisile Mbele, Somi.
Okay.
And I'm an educational psychologist, which is what brought me here. But I do feel a need to mention that my first career, I've been a nurse. Having attended this course, I think it's important that I mention that my first career was nursing, which of course I enjoyed very much. And I've worked as a general nurse, a midwife, an educator, an administrator, everything in nursing, So I was qualified there. Then I decided to take psychology, and now I'm qualified as an educational psychologist, obviously the highest qualification being a PhD. Yeah, in terms of psychology, which is what brought me here, I've worked in different places. I've worked in Children's Assessment Center, I've worked in a counseling center at the Medical Satellite Clinic of the medical school at UKZN. It used to be in Howard College. I don't know, it's still called Howard College. I've worked at Technical Natal again as an EAP, Employee Assistance Program Manager. I've done skills development, facilitations, etc. Then I went to UniZulu, University of Zululand, and I've been there for the most part of my psychology career, if I should say that. I've also worked at Children's Assessment Center in Sherwood. I'm a Debanite. Most of my work has been in KZN. So my last career, should I say, step, I've been a lecturer, progressing from being lecturer, senior lecturer, and associate. I retired when I was associate professor at UniZulu. So now I'm at retirement, but psychology, you never stop working. It's not like now that I'm retired, I'm not doing anything. And I've never done any psycholegal work or forensic work, simply because I thought my hands were full. If you are a lecturer and you are teaching and you are heading the department, everything, sort of piles up, and then you end up not getting time to focus. I think I'm enjoying this time more. I wasn't aware really, but I think I'm enjoying this time more than I was actually employed, like having to be at a particular space at a particular time, maybe at 7, at 8, etc. Yeah. So, and that is the
So when
reason
you
why
say
I
you're enjoying
took
this, sorry, just when you
this
say you're
period.
enjoying this more,
This period
you mean just post-retirement period?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And this is the reason why I've taken this course, because it gives me time to actually focus on other things. And I'm also involved with the board for psychology, obviously, professional board. So it also gives me time to look at other issues. We go around, we do evaluations, we sit in the board meetings, and we read the reports written by psychologists for courts, for whatever. And that's what motivated me to attend this course and learn more. I don't know, should I say on forensic psychology or psycholegal?
You
Uh,
can do both. You can talk.
yeah.
Let's talk about your experience. And but what I am interested in is, what we try to do while within when you get to those topics. But what we try to do is, as you know, we locate from the legal perspective, because now you see you're moving into the legal domain, which has its own requirements, its own sets of norms and rules and all that, professional requirements. And so what we try to do is take those requirements and then teach those requirements at the from the theoretical onto the practical level. And as you saw with the expert witness report, you mentioned expert witness report. One of the things we try to do is let's have a look at what how do you integrate the correct rules and principles into the expert report. So those expert reports that you're looking at should be written in accordance with what the courts are requiring, but it's quite onerous actually to fulfill that. So we try and put in quite a bit of work to how can we make that easier for people to comply with those legal requirements.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. For a person that hasn't done psycholegal, of course, we know ethics and all our rules and
Mm,
regulations. But for a person like me who hasn't actually been actively involved in this type of work, I'm like a sponge, really. I'm just
mm,
absorbing everything. And
mm, mm,
for me, it's opening the whole new world.
mm,
Although I knew about it, but like I wasn't, should I say, involved, fully involved in it. And it is interesting. I've looked at some cases, and sometimes, of course, you think of saying, "Oh, why didn't they say this?" But you know that maybe the cases that you have presented, maybe they do not tell us everything that happened behind the scenes,
mm.
except for this. This was the complaint, and this is how it was handled. And in terms of what we did last Sunday on the structure of a report, although I didn't think it was that, but I've seen by looking at some reports that have been written with some psychologists, which I think they have attended such courses, that they do follow the structure. And I say, oh, okay, like it's something that I've seen, but of course, obviously, it won't be exactly the same like it has been taught. And I'm also looking forward to look at the book. I don't know, you would advise if it is it because I was thinking I'm attending with attorneys and lawyers and whatever, and I'm just wondering if the book that it's is it the
Quantum guidelines. Yeah. That,
quantum guidelines,
mm,
yeah, to say,
mm, mm.
would you think that it's relevant for me to have it? Like I haven't done work yet, but I think maybe in the future after attending this course, maybe I would like to explore that area.
Well,
So,
I think it would definitely be because the quantum guidelines. So with this course, what we look at obviously is expert witness evidence as a subject. The quantum guidelines, that book is been in quite a demand. It's just in pre-publication now. The publication is going to happen within the next few weeks, so it's coming up quickly. And then we will offer training on that book as well. So the thing with that book is that it's going to talk about quantum of personal injury claims. Now, in every single personal injury claim, you've got the quantum aspect. And that book goes into some very important detail on a number of areas to do with quantifying personal injury claims. And we will make that information available through various channels. But I think that it's a cornerstone actually for anybody who's involved in personal injury work to have that comprehensive knowledge of quantifying the claim, because at the end of the day, that's really what the attorneys are asking for, is a monetary value. And you have to be able to do that aspect of the work. It certainly helps to have a good solid grounding in that aspect of the work, because it comes up in every single case. So that's why we've actually decided to specialize on offer specialist material on the quantum of those claims. So I think it would be very helpful, and it sounds as though you'd thoroughly enjoy it. I must be honest with you. I liked your comment that you like a sponge. And I must tell you, it's reassuring to me, because there's
mm,
a lot of content in the course.
Yeah,
it's a steep learning curve.
yeah.
We don't compromise our standard. It's a demanding course intellectually, and I know that.
Mm.
There's a lot of material every Sunday to absorb. Um, and it's great to hear that comment, because that is exactly what we need, is that type of level of professional that is able to has that inquiring mind, is wants to improve their understanding of the subject, and then we put that information. Then obviously it's for them to use it afterwards. But we set quite a high standard, and it's lovely to hear that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And the other, it's still on the book. I'm just asking, is that a decision that would be made by expert witness, or it would be the attorneys, or I don't know, occupational therapist or whoever,
Yeah.
in terms of personal injuries? Would
So what
that,
it is, yeah,
yes,
please continue.
I was saying, would that the estimation, or because I did read in the notes that, when you are presenting, you must state exactly who the name of the patient, what has been
Mm,
doing, and all those,
mm,
the whole list there.
mm.
I- in terms of now estimating the should I say the amount of person, not the amount of personal injury, but in terms of claiming, what is it that the person has lost, or what is it that the person should be compensated upon? Who actually does that exactly?
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
So
I
that's a
know
great.
you said
Yeah.
the road accident fund doesn't come to courts, etc. It goes via a different route, but I think they also have to go through that process again. And some psychologists have been involved a lot in also the road accident fund claims. Yeah, that's the
Mm.
understanding I need to have again in terms of the book. Now, not that I wouldn't buy it, but I
No,
just
I
want to
understand.
know the limits, how far can you
Mm.
go with the information? Are you not overstepping if you are doing this, things
No,
like
no,
that?
that's excellent questions, and those are very relevant questions. So obviously, look, now the way that it works with road accident fund work, or any type of personal injury, medical malpractice,
Mhm.
or an assault case, a dog bite case, any of those cases, but including road accident fund work, the process will be that to the short answer is the way that you will arrive at that amount, which is your quantification of your claim, is through the collective input of a number of people. And actually, if you think about it, it's going to be your expert witnesses. You normally start with your medical experts, or the healthcare
Okay.
aspect, so they will lay a foundation. So, for instance, for example, an orthopedic surgeon would prepare a report
Okay.
on orthopedic injuries. And then you would have, for instance, allied health professionals like occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and the like might make a comment, and they might defer to what the orthopedic surgeon has said, but do their own assessments and then add from a functional perspective how that particular person is affected by the injury. Of course, you would know that an educational psychologist might then make an input, particularly where you're
Mhm.
dealing with young children and you're trying to predict what that young child's future career progression would have been. And of course, now what it is now that the injuries occurred. So there you have your sort of, I think it was like a base layer of I've called it medical professionals, healthcare professionals giving their input. Then you get your industrial psychologist, who then takes that and almost converts it into rands and cents as far as the income aspect is concerned, loss of income earning capacity. So then has a look at what would have happened if the injury hadn't occurred and what would have happened now the injury has occurred, and then gives different scenarios that are likely to happen in future. And then you compare the two. So what would the situation have been if the injury hadn't occurred? What is the situation now? The difference is the value of the claim. And then the matter typically goes to an actuary, who will then do an actuarial assessment to get all of that information and bring it all together into one sum, one amount. Now, that
Okay.
therefore I say it's a team effort. And so there's very much a place for all of these experts to play their part in that team. When we talk specifically about the book on the quantum guidelines, what would be important in that book is to understand the principles of how damages are assessed. So what I'm telling you here is just in a nutshell, a lot more detailed principles in that book, and then also like a list of comparable cases, which will give you what's called the injury diagnosis, which is the injury itself, and then the outcome diagnosis, which is the prognosis, really the effect on that person's life, the individual circumstances of that person. So those two
Oh,
types of
this is
diagnosis,
quite interesting.
very, very interesting. And this is the
Yeah,
only
this is,
publication to make that the only publication that draws that distinction, which is the proper distinction to draw. So that's
yeah,
groundbreaking for this book.
yeah, it is quite interesting, yeah, to have, except for of course, I don't know. As psychologists, we always think of other things as well. I'm just thinking of you saying a school child, maybe that was in an injury or whatever, and you can estimate. Obviously, we always look at what you would call pre-morbida. I think you are familiar with that, pre the
Yeah.
injury, with that term. And then
Yeah.
you say what he or he cannot do in all those areas affected, etc.,
Mm.
which in most cases it also involves neuropsychologists and all that. But uh, under normal circumstances, one can argue that is where I'm going now. In terms, I don't know, maybe it's not quite relevant. You think of the probabilities, you talk of the probabilities, because you'd get children that would have, in terms of the IQ, in terms of the cognitive intelligence and all that, performing very well, and then they don't end up being more productive in the society. That is generally now without a personal injury or
Mm.
whatever.
Mm.
But
Mm.
now, when you make this assessment, you say, this child has been doing very well at school, so we thought that he was going to have a brighter future, but because of A, B, C, D, this has been compromised. Now, how do you balance those scales, because it's that, but I'm not even saying it's part of this course, but I'm saying it's the thoughts that would come to your
Mm.
mind to say. But I'm glad that there are other people that are involved as well in terms of quantifying this, and the actuarial, what is it, actuarial scientists
Materials.
and oh
Yeah.
yeah, all those people. Yeah, but
No, very much so. So that's where it's a collaborative effort, and you'll see. Often I mention that it's that working relationship, because it's the attorney that will bring everything together, and then the advocate obviously is also a member of the team who will present the case in court. But the attorney is really the pivot. So all your experts will speak to the attorney, and then the attorney will do all the organizing of that case. But then, of course, you will also get to speak to your opposite number if they employ an educational psychologist, for you to decide what you've got in common and what there's in dispute, and that is also a very interesting exercise, often very useful, and start getting some clarity on where the real disputes lie in the case. Sometimes you have dispute that it looks like it's a dispute, but when you really start talking, you find there's not really any difference between you. Other points, there's a very real difference, especially where experts have differing views on, like, from a professional perspective. That's where you can have a very real dispute that needs to be resolved in the witness box, and that gets very interesting and challenging. But that is the process, and that's how we arrive at those figures. Boy,
and
I see we're heading towards the end of our time. Maybe you just want to give us some final thoughts, and what your final thoughts are on the topics that we've touched on.
the topics, like I told you, I've been actually absorbing everything, and for me, it's very interesting. But if you have an inquisitive mind, you always ask. And this is the final question that I would like to ask you, sort of information seeking rather than
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned, the meetings that will happen between the experts and their attorneys and the opposite side in cases where the what is it? There's litigation where there is a
Mm-hmm.
plaintiff and a defendant and all that. For me, I was wondering, I'm new in this. Is it sort of like a mini hearing, or what happens there when one expert would meet with another expert, maybe in the same area of educational psychology? What is that?
Okay, no, that's excellent question. And you've given me a thought of what something was introduced into the course. We must allow these questions. These are excellent. This is an excellent process. They're asking these questions. So now what you're talking about is a meeting of experts. It's not a mini hearing. This is just held between the experts. It's not in court. There's no other party present. And the idea is to get the two experts to talk about the issues and what they agree on and what they disagree on. And then to find if there's disagreement, or then you set out, they'll prepare a joint minute, which we will deal with this next session. But you prepare a joint minute. That joint minute then sets out, these are the issues. These are the issues that we agree on. We can agree on the following: 1, 2, 3, 4. We disagree on the following: 1, 2, 3. And then that joint minute is signed by both experts. Now, the idea there is to be able to narrow down and to get to the essence of what is really in dispute in this case. And then once that joint minute is signed, then it obviously goes to the attorneys. The attorneys and the advocate will then prepare their case based on that joint minute. Now, every set of experts should have a joint minute. So if you've got orthopedic surgeons, you'll have a joint minute from your orthopedic surgeons, educational psychologists, occupational therapists, etc. What the advocate does is takes all those joint minutes, takes all of the issues that are not in dispute and lists them and tells the judge, these issues are not in dispute when the trial starts. And then lists all the issues that are in dispute between all the experts and tells the judge, these issues are in dispute between the experts. The following 5 issues, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the judge knows that he or she must make a finding on the 5 issues that are in dispute. Then
Okay,
you run your trial.
Yes, a quick question before we close. Now, you
Yeah.
gave us an example in the course, I can't remember to quote it, but there was this expert who ended up agreeing with everything that the other expert was saying, and apparently I think the judge made a ruling towards that. Now,
Yeah.
where did that happen now? Are you saying in the minutes it says this one was agreeing with everybody? So,
Yeah.
because apparently it was like the ruling was putting this other experts who was agreeing with the opinions of the other, as if now he needs, I don't know, something like to say he was not efficient or whatever. I'm just asking as a person who is new in all this. It may
No,
not
absolutely.
sound, yeah.
Okay, so the case you're talking about is Jones versus Caney. It was a decision which was decided in the UK, but it's an interesting case to look at because the South African principles are similar to the UK principles, so we can learn from it. Even though it didn't happen in our country, we can learn from it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happened is that there was a meeting of experts, and the one expert, without good reason, and actually negligently, because there was no basis to admit these things, made a number of admissions which were harmful to the case of the person who had instructed that expert.
Okay.
So,
Now I get
so
it.
correct. And
Yeah, I get it.
but those admissions were made without her doing her homework properly. She just
Yes, that's,
agreed
yeah. I
negligently.
think
She
I
shouldn't have done
missed
that.
that. I
Yes,
missed
no,
the
it's quite
reason.
right. Correct.
Yeah.
She negligently made admissions without preparing properly. I didn't say this in the judgment, but the impression I get is she hadn't done her homework. She arrived at the meeting. This other expert, I think, was well prepared. She felt under pressure, and so she just agreed. It was just easy
Oh, okay.
without
Okay.
having prepared properly. And then this now cost her clients a lot of money, and then they wanted to sue her. And the judge ruled that she had been negligent in what she did. She didn't prepare properly. She didn't know what her case was and what her position was. But then, so that was her first mistake. And her second mistake was then, instead of being honest and saying, look, we need to meet later, postpone this meeting, let me go and prepare properly, she decided she's just going to agree with what the other experts said. And it was an unprofessional conduct. That's the problem.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I was thinking now in these joint meetings, why was not picked up? Why should it wait until the court stage? But anyway,
Mm,
yeah, now
mm.
you've explained. I'm okay. I think it has been very fruitful, and going forward, I'm looking forward. I will buy the book at least, because now, I mean, because I was asking, why is it me that should be making those decisions? But I hear you now.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I think
Thanks
it'll
a
be
lot.
helpful for experts as
Yeah.
well. All right, Bui, thank you so much. It's actually been lovely meeting you. It's nice to always hear, each person's professional journey, and it for me, you always, I know as a professional, we all know as professionals what sacrifice and commitment and dedication it takes to get. You've got a list of achievements. Any one of those achievements is a tremendous achievement. And I think as a community of all of us that are participating in this course, we've all walked that type of road, and it really part of the interview here is to honor your professional commitment and your achievement in life. I really strongly believe in professionals as a very important part of South African society and society around the world. I think we're very treasured, and yeah, we just want to honor your achievements, and thank you so much for your time and for trusting us to take you through this course. And it's really inspiring to hear from people taking the course, and it just gets us to a higher level. So thank you
Yeah,
so much. We
thanks.
really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And
Bye.
I look forward to interacting with you in future.
Okay. Bye.
Cheers in. Keep the questions coming, Boy. Excellent questions. Thank you. Cheers in.
Okay.
Righto. Bye bye. Bye.